Thank you very much, Alzheimer's Western Australia, for inviting me over to do a presentation on sexualities and dementia. I often like to start by telling or sharing how I come about doing work in this area. Yes, I'm Cindy Jones, because often people look at the name, the last person they expect is a short Asian lady here talking about sexuality. So I'm not an imposter. Jason can verify my identity. Now, I remember I graduated from my PhD in 2009. Very excited. Now I got my PhD, I'm going to do great research in dementia, and I have all these great ideas that all the different research projects that I can be involved in. And I remember I got a joint position within a university and an aged care provider. My first meeting with all my bosses, as I call them. I sat down, looked at them, we were talking about my research direction for the next 3 years. And they raised the issue of sexual expression, inappropriate sexual behavior of older people with dementia in nursing home. Staff find it challenging, inappropriate, and there needs to be some education. I remember sitting there looking at them, thinking to myself, really? Sex, aging, dementia, do I really have to go there? Okay, but of course I kept a poker face. Whatever your boss wants you to do is like, not a problem, I'll look into it. So that sort of marks my journey in the past 7 or 8 years doing research education in this area. And I've came to the realization that this is a very much neglected aspect of care that we don't think about. You know, we worried about people with dementia in terms of, food, medication, personal hygiene, etc. But when it comes to their sexual needs, or expression of sexuality, is something that we don't really like to think about or even worry about. Now, so in 2013, as Jason mentioned, I was very fortunate with now what they call the Dementia Training Australia to develop this education resource on sexuality and dementia. So a lot of my presentation this afternoon will actually come from this education resource. Ouch. Okay, now actually I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to get you to do a 1-minute speed dating with the person sitting next to you. Okay, you're not really dating that person. If you want to, that's fine. But what I'm going to get you to do quickly in 1 minute, talk to the person next to you and tell each other, what do you think intimacy is? What do you think sexuality is? Is it the same or is there any different? Okay, 1 minute, my gatekeeper, start. Don't look at me, the answer is not on my face. Okay, your 1 minute is up. Now, hopefully you ask or tell each other the right information, not your name, where you stay, or whether you're single or married, okay? That wasn't the whole idea. Okay, now, anyone here want to throw up to me quickly? What did you discuss? What did you come up with? What is intimacy, anyone? What is the word that comes to your mind when we talk about intimacy? Emotional aspect? Connection? Closeness? Intimacy? Isn't that the same? You're trying to put me in the spot here, whoever that person is. Okay, anything else? Okay, what about sexuality? Are they the same thing? Okay, so how is sexuality different? Touching? Don't you also have physical intimacy when it comes to touching for sexuality? Okay, what else? Identity, okay, your gender identity. Anything else? Choice? How you show your sexuality. Now, we know there is a difference between intimacy and sexuality. But when we try to define what it is, it seems really hard because there are components that overlap. But there is also distinct difference. Now, when you don't have a clear idea what is intimacy, what is sexuality, the behavior that reflects intimate needs and the behavior that reflects the experience or the need in terms of the expression of sexuality can often be confused. Behavior like a person with dementia coming to you, holding you, hugging you, or trying to rub your shoulder up and down, or rub your arm up and down. For some inexperienced staff, or staff that don't really understand the difference for the need for intimacy or need for sexuality, might see that as, oh, he's a dirty old man trying to cope with you. When in fact, it might be driven more for a need for intimacy, the need for human contact, okay? So moving on very quickly, because I know on a time restriction, I usually do this workshop in the whole day, so I only got 40 hours. Is it? No, sorry, 40 minutes. Did I say hours? Okay, what is intimacy? Intimacy refers to the experience of connecting with another person based on feelings of care and affection. So you have actually identified correctly. It's about trust, choice. It's a mutual process, and you must feel safe and secure. The driving force behind it is the desire to have companionship, a shoulder to lean on, to be free from loneliness. Sharing a caring touch, empathetic understanding, reassuring are all part of intimacy. Can be associated with friendship. Does not always has to be sexual in nature, can be non-sexual. Feeling safe is paramount. Now, these are some examples of intimate behavior. We have physical intimate behavior like holding hands, giving a kiss on the cheek, or touching. I remember when I first came to Australia, I never quite understand you greet each other by giving a kiss on each other's face, a peck on the right, if you're French, on the left as well, apparently. I always feel, oh, this is too much. We don't do this. Asian, we are very prim and proper. There's my space and your space. So I got used to it and realized that this is the way I'm connecting with my friends, greeting, etc. When I went back to Singapore for a visit, when I was in Australia for 12 months, I was very excited to see my mum after not seeing her for 12 months. So I rush over there, give her a big hug and say, hi, Mum. You should look at her face. She said, what has Australia done to you? Okay, anyway, moving on. There is also emotional intimacy, where you offer a shoulder for someone to cry on. Or in my case, I'm not very good at comforting people. A guy friend of mine came, had a marriage breakdown, came to our office, bawled his eyes out. I couldn't give him a hug, so all I did was put a box of tissue in front of him. Now, that is a form of emotional intimacy in a very simplified behavior that we really don't think much about. Then there is also intellectual intimacy. Now, you will understand me. Sometimes you sit in a table, round circle of friends or family or whoever, then something gets said in the table. I look at you, you look at me, then next minute we both crack out laughing. Nobody else in the table knows what's going on. That's a form of intellectual intimacy between friends or family members. We don't think much about that, but it's a form of intimate behavior if you think about it. Also, in a social context, lady, you'll get me here. How many of you, when your girlfriend goes to the toilet, you say, you going to the toilet? I'll come along with you. Or, if we are going shopping, oh, look at that dress, isn't that beautiful? Look at it, and you're holding arms and then giggling, laughing. Okay, maybe we're a bit more mature, we don't do that anymore. Now, guys, if you are that way inclined, no stereotype. If that's where you want to go with your friends to the toilet, that's fine with me as well. Okay, then of course there is intimacy on a sexual level, where you engage in sexual intimacy, where you engage in sensual activities. Now compare that to sexuality. According to the World Health Organization, it's a central aspect of being human throughout life. Encompass sex, gender, identity, your gender roles, sexual orientation, erotism, pleasure, intimacy, and also reproduction system. Now, when we talk about sexual behavior, you can actually express your sexuality, because when we talk about sexual behavior, we are referring to an individual experience or how they express their sexuality, okay? So you can do it by yourself or you do it with another person. Whereas intimacy, you need to have another person to do it with, okay? Now, when it comes to sexual behavior, usually it's more linked to satisfying a sexual desire, more overt and pleasure-based, include all those intimate physical behavior that we talk about, even in a form of sexual penetration and sexual intercourse. Now, you can, of course, you do it with somebody else, if that's the way you are inclined, or you can also engage in sexual behavior by stimulating your own body sensation like masturbation, all right? I can say all this word without blushing anymore. I used to blush and look like a tomato, but I don't anymore, so. Anyway, and then Playboy, magazine, reading explicit books, magazine, video, etc., as all different ways to self-gratification. So, why is expression of sexuality important for older people? Now, Elle mentioned about that pyramid, and the base, the bottom, is identity and connectedness. Identity, your sexual identity, your gender identity form parts of it. your connectedness in terms of your intimacy with others, your connection with others in your life, whether it's friends, spouse, partner, they are the basis of it. If a person with dementia or anyone, not even people with dementia, don't have that, think about it. Now, obviously, it's about their quality of life, personhood, identity, having a positive self-concept, healthy interpersonal relationship, having a sense of integrity, it goes on and on. If we deprive them of it, it will obviously affect not only their social relationship, but their self-image and their mental well-being. That picture is a book called, I forgot the name of the book actually. It's actually a photography book called Timeless Love by this lady in the Netherlands. I was at the International Psychogeriatric Congress a few years back, walking down the corridor to one of their exhibition hall, and on the wall, there is a series of pictures, and I'll show you them, don't worry, you get to see it. There is a series of pictures of older people in various loving, intimate moments. And they are real-life older couples who have given permission for Marie to actually capture their love or their loving moment in that time. And she put together that photography book called Timeless Love, and that is the cover. And I love that picture. I hope I can do that when I'm in 65, 70, 75, maybe a bigger one. I'm not sure if I can fit into that. Maybe those with the bubbles would be fun too. Okay, now I do apologize if anyone get offended by this comic, but I think it says a lot. Okay, you're laughing, so I should be okay. If you're staring at me like Jason, I don't know what he's thinking. Now, generally, there's an ageist view when it comes to older people. Older people don't have sex, can't have sex, uninterested in sex, and stop developing sexual relationship. Ageist view. It's not like a switch like 65, off it goes. Okay, we still continue to have that need. And I'll show you with some statistics later on. Now, in reality, when we talk to older people, including those with dementia, it can remain to be a very meaningful, important issue. Okay, not everyone wish to express their sexuality. Some can redefine, reprioritize to other things or other aspects that's important in their life. But for those who still view it as an important issue, we as healthcare providers are not addressing their needs. They don't feel comfortable talking to us about it. And in fact, they have highlighted that they want to talk to us about it, their function, their concern, and wanted it to be part of their clinical care. I was invited to give a talk on this topic to a group of new GP, up-and-coming GPs still doing their training at a university. Guess what? I was allocated to a 10-minute panel session discussion on this topic, while other topic seems to be more important, and you can look at the kids' face. Well, I call them kids, I'm getting a bit old. But anyway, I look at the students' face, and they were all quite, oh, do I really need to know this type of situation? Okay? This is not an aspect of care that they deem is very important for older people. Now, I love this picture. This is what we all end up looking like. Okay, maybe not you, but me, definitely I'm on the way. The cellulite, saggy skin is all happening. You know, things don't last forever. Even for guys, a six-pack can become a one-slap. So, okay, statistically, what is it showing? Are we still engaging in sex? That's one of the behavior. Now, Men in Health study of over 12,000 men aged 65, you look at the stats, it's still happening. Yes, it's declining, but it's not a lack of desire, but it's often compounded by issues like physical health, lack of a partner, etc. This is another study in the US. Similar age men and women this time, they distinguish between oral sex and sexual activity. It does decline with age. Prevalent sexual problems are identified. So they identify both men and women. Now for men, if you notice, erectile difficulty, 37%, of which 14% of them actually reported using medication and supplement to improve sexual function. Okay? I got a friend, his father, don't laugh yet, I haven't told you the story. We're meant to be talking about serious business here. Okay, I have a friend, a real friend. His father has been in a long-term relationship. He's in his late 60s, has been in a long-term relationship with his partner. His partner, they have been having apparently active sexual life up until the point where she fall ill and have to have some surgery in her vagina and have some, I don't know the exact details, but anyway, as a result of it, her libido has gone down. He still has the need, and she's not that sexually inclined anymore. Now, he's not here to judge whether it's right or wrong, but he's engaged the services of a sex worker, and he will call up my friend and say, oh, could you get me some of those blue pills? And I don't know how he does it, but he went and get those pills, put it in a brown paper bag, close it up, and give it to his father the next time at the family meeting. I don't understand the brown paper bag phenomenon, but anyway. So a person in the 60s, still active, having some problem using medication, fits the profile. Okay, I promised you I was going to show you some pictures. Now, the top pictures, when I show it to my health professional students, whether they are nurses or psychologists, etc., when they see the first row of pictures, they say, oh, that's really sweet, very nice. Then the reaction goes from that to, oh, ooh, oh, no, that's too much. It's what way life is. This is what we look like. We're never going to look great forever. Maybe with cosmetic surgery, yes, you can, but I don't. My salary doesn't entitle me to that expensive injection. Okay, now, so I've talked about sex, aging, statistics, the myth, etc. Now, adding on to a layer of complexity to that is the LGBTI community, the older LGBTI members, okay? Now, LGBTI, I don't think I need to explain what it represents. I mean, there's 16 alphabet. I can't remember all 16 alphabet. If you can, great. Now, this is a documentary. I don't have the time to show you as well. If you come and attend one of my workshop, which is free, by the way, so I do not make money out of it. I usually show a snippet of this documentary called Gen Silent. It's an award-winning documentary that depicts the challenges as an aging LGBTI member living in Boston. Okay, and it basically followed them for a period of a year, and highlight the challenges they deal with while aging as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or trans. Okay, if you have the opportunity, this is something I suggest you might want to have a look at it. Now, beside the LGBTI community, then we add another layer of complexity, and that is dementia-related sexual expression when it comes to people with dementia. Now, I don't know if you experienced that, but with my work with residential homes as well as community as well, these are some of the behavior of people with dementia or what they consider as sexual expression that is not appropriate. Removal of clothing in public, touching or exposing their genital, including masturbating in public, attempting to touch, kiss, hug, or flirt with others without the other person's consent, making rude sexual comments, including swearing, requesting sexual acts, unwarranted sexual acts or advances from others, and unexpected change in sexual orientation before and after. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, often the words or the description that's attached to it, it's very challenging when you have people behaving that way. It's really inappropriate or it's improper. Now, what if I tell you these behaviors are not always challenging, not always inappropriate, and is definitely not always improper? There could be other explanation for those behavior. Removal of clothing in public. I've seen people walking around without the top, like a female without her bra or her blouse or anything, just in her pants walking around. Is she an exhibitionist? Not necessary. It could be her clothing, the material is irritating her, she's hot, she's just not expressing it as what we would normally express it, okay? And also masturbating in public. We had a case of this gentleman found masturbating in this corridor of a nursing home. Now, he doesn't do it like regularly, but on occasion has been found by staff doing that. Staff was really upset, wanted the GP to give him some medication to stop him from behaving that way. That's the easiest way out, isn't it? Now, what we later found, of course we can't say for 100%, but the fact that he's always found in that particular spot, masturbating and nowhere else in the nursing home, after talking to the family, what they suspect would be the reason is that in that particular corridor is a Queensland nursing home. It has those stained glass window with the floral design and the native birds and animals type of design. I don't know if you with the colors, they're apparently quite expensive. What his family member noted is that it seems like those window is very similar to the one that he has at his home on toilet bathroom. Okay, of course we can't say 100%, but the fact that he was never found anywhere else but always that corridor at that bench, all right? Now, this is an interesting story. Okay, I do apologize if any of you found it a bit rude the way I'm going to explain it. I was at a conference a few years ago, and this lady came out. She was a registered nurse. She got a phone call from one of her personal care worker saying, "Oh, Amy, we have a problem." "What do you mean we had a problem?" "Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so is having oral sex in the kitchen area. What do we do?" "Huh? What do you mean, oral sex?" "Yes, what do we do?" "You mean hands down, dick out, mouth on?" "Yes, that's what I'm saying. What do we do?" Okay, what would you do? So for those of you in a community daycare, what if we have a couple that is having oral sex in the kitchen you found? What do you do? Now, I thought it was one-off accident, but when I mentioned this story mentioned this case to some of my workshop attendees, one of the guys put out his hand and said, "You wouldn't believe it. We just had a very similar incident the other day, and one of our care staff or one of my colleague was very quick thinking. He said, all she did, without raising the attention of anyone else in the room, she quickly, just so happened that in their facility, it had that Japanese bifolding screen. He or she, the colleague, I can't remember the gender, quickly just shield them from the public view and then turned and went back and tried to bring them back to their own room to continue. Because when you raise attention, when you react, you get the attention of others. Sometimes people don't even really know what's going on. So if you quickly put the blind, you might have averted a situation that could be confronting for others, okay? Now, remember, people with dementia can have changing awareness, but they still can agree to participate in new relationship and sexual activity. With dementia, there's always that concern when I talk to staff or carers. Oh, do they have the capacity to consent? Do they know who they are with? It's even worse when the person with dementia have an existing spouse and they don't remember the spouse and had new relationship with others. So, oh, they can't consent. We have to worry, the wife will be upset, the husband will be upset. And it just brings me to that point that Bill Jenkins actually mentioned before lunch about unconditional love that then emphasizes on that personhood, okay? Now, I'll talk about that and I'll show you a case later on. Now, people with dementia are still have decision specific where they have periods where they are capable of insight. They can still make decisions despite deferring their care to others. So rather than focusing on consent, capacity for consent, what we are asking when it comes to people with dementia, engaging in sexual activity, expressing sexuality, having new relationship, whether it's with their spouse or with other people within a facility, can we rather than consent look at assent? Look at their signs of well-being and ill-being. They can still very much through their behavior tell you whether they are enjoying that new relationship or not. I have this lady that have a new relationship with this other gentleman in a nursing home, and they spend time together, meals time, activity, over time, they go closer and closer, and she ended up in his room and apparently having sex. Now, none of them had existing partners, so family were also okay with the relationship, all right? But what staff noticed is over time, this lady would often come out of his room looking distressed and upset. But the next time, she will forget about it and still go happily with him to his room. And then come out again upset. A bit like Groundhog Day. Now, staff asked her. She was happy whenever he's with him, though there's no signs of ill-being. The signs of ill-being is when she exited from the room. So, after staff talked to her, what they found, determined to be the issue is she wants to stay in the room after they have sex, lie in bed with him and cuddle up to him. But every time after sex, his response is, "You can go now." I'm not saying anything, guys. Now, our first response is, we seem to be pointing or thinking about some certain direction. Now, what if this gentleman live in is used to having separate bedroom, having separate living arrangement with his ex-partner before? We don't know the history. Don't be quick to jump to certain conclusion. But in this instance, this lady was showing signs of ill-being after being with him time and time again. So eventually, after consultation with the family, you can judge it as right or wrong. It was feel like they tried to avoid getting her. Every time they could see that she's going into the room with him again, they would try to distract her and bring her somewhere else to avoid her being upset or having signs of ill-being rather than just separating them totally. Okay, now, we discussed this today. As care provider, we have that desire to protect people with dementia from harm, the risk management. But remember, we still have to advocate for the rights for a person with dementia to make decisions when it comes to their sexuality, intimacy, and physical relationship. So, adopting a decision framework for people with dementia that use the principle, pursuit of happiness as the guiding principle is what we are advocating for. This is something that my colleague at La Trobe University has proposed and put forward, and I think it's a really sound idea. When we respond to people with dementia expression of sexuality, try to remain non-judgmental, calm, and objective, because their experience and our experience are quite different. Avoid showing embarrassment or shock, as I said before. Be respectful, okay? When there are others present and behavior is inappropriate, reassure that they mean no harm. If they're in a communal area, distract them, lead them away. And sometimes jokes can help. I'm not very good at it. Now, this is something I want to highlight to you. For people with dementia, pre-existing and new developing relationships should still be supported. Even to the outside world, it may seem uncomfortable or odd at first for a sexual intimate relationship to continue even when one has dementia. Many couples do wish to maintain some level of intimacy, and any issues can be handled and navigated within the relationship. One thing that came to my mind and during today's symposium, and after talking to one of this carer that I knew who was providing care for her husband at home, I think it was Bill that mentioned it, or was it Al? I can't remember myself now. Anyway, what she said to me really struck a chord. She said that her husband has gone from a loving, intimate partner to an object of care. I don't think it's Al, it was actually Bill that actually mentioned it early on. And she struggled with maintaining that level of intimacy and even having a sexual relationship with the husband because she feels like she's taking advantage of him now given his condition or his diagnosis of dementia. And she sees him as more someone that she needs to care for and is worried about that change in the dynamic of the relationship. Okay? So this is something as care provider we need to think about. Do I have a solution for you? No. As Jason was saying, it's about making you think about things that we probably wouldn't have considered before. It's about guiding through, maybe telling or explaining. Just because her husband has dementia doesn't mean that he no longer has that need. Just because she's now the carer doesn't mean she cannot maintain some form of intimacy and loving relationship with her husband. Okay, I am really mindful of time because I was told I only got 10 minutes, and as I say, I do this in a one-day workshop. There's a implicit model of care that I'm just going to raise. It's called implicit model of care. It's not something that is developed just for people with dementia or talking with family members of people with dementia. It's used in a medical model, but this lady called Elaine White, who used to work in Alzheimer's Australia, Hunter Valley region, I don't know if Jason, you knew her. She does a lot of work in this area. She has actually published a book called A Rose That Never Wilt. It's a yellow book, A5, with a red rose at the front. It's an excellent book. It documents a lot of the cases that she comes across over her years of expression of sexuality between couples, what happened, what was the action taken, and what was the outcome, and her reflection on it. And this model of care was actually put forward by her as a way to initiate a conversation with family, whether you're in a community care setting or in a residential aged home care settings. Now, we also ask that you actually use a need-based approach in your care in your organization. I don't know how many of you are in the management role, but be more proactive. Often when it comes to expression of sexuality, supporting residents, we do it in a reactive rather than a proactive approach. We wait for some case to happen, then everyone starts to freak out and think about how we're going to respond, what can we do with it. How about we think about that now? How about we think about our policy and guideline, which I think there is none in existence or very limited. How about we talk to family and people with dementia? In fact, my colleague at La Trobe University have actually developed an information sheet on this topic to be given to family and people with dementia to start this conversation, to give them some information about it. Okay, I don't have the time to go through the case, but I'll leave that to you. I just want to show you a couple of cases that is happening around the world. Now, I don't know if any of you know of this. Stripper in New York nursing home leads to resident son suing the nursing home. Now, in this nursing home in New York, they have a panel consisting of residents, okay? And they decide every month what recreational activity happens in the nursing home. You're giggling, so you know what happened. Now, the nursing home, the panel of committee for that particular month decided they're going to bring in a male stripper. And this lady in this picture was one of the residents, not on the panel, but she obviously attended, put some money down his knickers. Brief, I think it's not supposed to be knickers, but anyway. This picture was taken. The son came and visited her one day, saw this picture, was outraged and said, how could the facility allow this to happen? The mother with dementia didn't know what's happening. It was degrading, and decided to sue the nursing home. Okay, think about it. I'll let you decide what you think about the case. I'm just thinking even in community day clubs or day center, could we have such activity? Okay, maybe not necessarily this generation of older people. What about the next generation of older people? I remember I organized a bachelor party for my cousin, and I had one of them. Not cheap, but anyway, I had them at a hotel, and my aunts, I got a lot of aunts, and my mom knew about it, and next minute I got texts coming through, oh, can we attend as well? I didn't think in that generation it's something that they would be interested, but they actually tell me, yeah, sure. Anyway, so this is one case. Now, this is the one that I want to highlight to you because this deals with the issue of cognitive capacity. Now, this is a very sad case. It happened in the States. And this particular guy, Henry, in the newspaper clipping, used to be the senator of Iowa. Now, he was a widow and met his second wife at a social dancing club activity event. They met, fell in love. She was married too, has 2 adult daughters, I believe, and they met, they fell in love, they got married. Shortly after that, she was diagnosed with dementia, and the dementia appears to have progressed quite rapidly, and he was caring for her at their own home. Now, by all accounts of every family members, even their kids, they were a happy couple together. Now, it got to the point, the daughter felt that he no longer had the ability to look after her at home and wanted him to put her in a nursing home. Reluctantly, he agreed. Now, by his own admission, they continue to be sexually intimate when she's in the nursing home. The daughter felt that their mother no longer had the cognitive capacity to consent to sex and actually sat him down with the GP with them, got the GP to tell them that she no longer had the cognitive capacity to have sex and he is not to have sex with her in the nursing home. Apparently, he agreed. And what happened was that his wife was sharing a room with this other lady, and this lady reported to the nursing staff that he came one day to visit his wife, drew the curtain between them, and she thinks she heard what is like sex noise going on behind the curtain. So the nursing staff was alarmed, informed the daughter who came and took their mother to a hospital for a rape test. And they looked at the CCTV, saw him apparently on that day walking out of the facility, dropping what they think is a pair of knickers in the laundry basket. They even sent her bed sheet for a semen test. Now, and during this investigation, she sadly passed away. His wife passed away, and not long after that, he was actually prosecuted for raping his wife with dementia. Hence, the newspaper clipping. Now, the rape test came in with no signs of rape. Semen, yes, but it was unconclusive when it was left. Now, I was really interested, a lot of us was waiting for the outcome because it was sort of set a legal precedent where people with dementia, do they have the capacity to consent to sex? Now, the end result, if you're interested, Google it, you'll find it. He was found not guilty, all right? Then it raises this question, was he not found guilty? Because number one, they believe that people with dementia have the capacity to have sex, or is it because of the lack of evidence? When I talk to a lawyer, they tell me, no, it must be because of the lack of evidence. Anyway, but it's a very sad case. Now, lastly, I just want to highlight this case, and before I do, I just want to talk to you about the issue of personhood, the person before and the person after dementia. I don't have a lot of time, but I'll just go back one slide quickly, this particular slide. Now, we have many cases where people with dementia form new relationship, and a relationship that is different to the ones they had before dementia. That means they used to be heterosexual, happily married for many years, have kids, and then go on and form relationship with other residents in a nursing home, same-sex relationship. And then we got family getting really upset and say, this is not my mom, we want them separated. So it raises the question, is the person after dementia not the authentic person? Is their behavior not to be recognized? Or can personhood really change? Actually, I think Elle did say this, that it's okay to change even after dementia. I've heard of cases where people swear a lot before dementia, and then after that I was told, oh, he or she is the nicest person now. And a person that never swears, and now he or she swears like a trooper. Now, do we tell them, oh, you swear a lot, now you need to swear? Or you never swear, you can't swear anymore? But we just let it go, we go with the flow. What they want right now, we go along with it. But when it comes to relationship, their orientation is not congruent to who they were or what relationship they had before, then there is that challenge there. All right? Now, do we really know the person? Okay, we may or may not know the person. Maybe they might have that inclination that their kids do not know about. Any one of you have kids here? Okay, do you tell your kids all your sexual life, or your sexual fantasy, or your fetishes? I haven't had that conversation with my 11 years old, and I'm not even thinking about it, all right? Now, so, with the last thing I want to highlight to you, I was planning to show it to you. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time now. But you can Google this. Obviously, Dr. Google has everything online these days. You can Google this video called Extreme Love, Dementia. It's Dementia Love by this guy called Louis Theroux. He's a very popular or well-known documenter that do a lot of quirky documentary in different topics. But in this particular video, it's a one-hour video on dementia love. There's this case of Gary. He's a dentist that has been married to Carla. Now, he was quite young, 64 when he had the onset of dementia, and now he's residing in a nursing home. Cut a long story short, he's gone into the nursing home and formed not one, but two relationship with two different ladies at the nursing home. And in the documentary, it depicts how his wife responded to it. She was still visiting him, having a friendship with the two ladies, going to lunches with her husband and his girlfriend, watching her husband kissing and hugging this lady. And the presenter said, doesn't it upset you? And her response is, it's unconditional love. I'll be here and care for him as much as I can. Which sort of relates to what Bill said just now about the Pega love, okay? That when you have that unconditional love, you are able to focus on the personhood of the person and ensure his or her well-being.